G'day everyone, it's Glenn Goodman here. Welcome to another episode of Aussie Tech Security. How you doing? Hey, been a while since the last one? Not really, just a couple of weeks. All right, yes, we've got Roger here once again. You can contact Roger at SME Security on the Twitter or at his webpage, rogersmith.com.au/Roger, or go and have a check out of rniconsulting.com.au. And also don't forget the Aussie Tech Heads web hosting, athwebhosting.com.au, also for all your shared web hosting needs. All right, now, well, we better get in and say good day to Roger, eh? We won't just go topics, we better introduce him. Hey, Roger, how you doing?
I'm good, Glenn. Thank you very much.
That's good. All right, been all right since last time we spoke? Nothing drastic.
Yes, everything's working really well.
Ah, excellent. Good news. All right, now this week we're going to talk about maybe some social engineering and some fake news and maybe something else. We'll see how the time goes for us. But social engineering, well, we better start off with a definition, I guess. What is social engineering?
Social engineering is getting you to do something stupid. It's probably the easiest way of putting it. So the bad guys getting through a firewall takes a lot of know-how, understanding of technology and everything else. But getting a person to click on a link in an email is a lot easier for them. And that's one of the reasons why social engineering is such a big problem, because it relies on us protecting the user from themselves, not protecting the system from the user.
Yes, yeah. So, look, social engineering, yes. So I suppose it's been well known. There's been a few well-known cases. I think like people have hacked into celebrities via the Apple websites and stuff. They've rang up and they've answered questions to reset passwords and all that sort of stuff. And people have used, I suppose like the questions that say Apple asked of the hacker are questions that probably were easy to guess the answer to. Or maybe, or previous questions asked led to answers of other questions, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, the other thing is you've got to remember how sneaky some of the hackers can actually get. Have you seen a program called Mr. Robot?
Yes. Yeah, that's a good show.
If the first 10 minutes of the first episode shows how a social engineering attack can unfold. And it is very, very close to reality in that respect because of the simple fact that he rings up someone and says, I'm from IT security. I need you to answer these questions for your security components. So these are the questions I'm going to ask. So he asks the questions, gets the answer, then hangs up and then goes and does things on the guy's account. Now, that is how social engineering really can happen.
Yeah. And so, look, it's not just it's out there. I suppose these social engineering is not really, say, script kiddies running scripts or whatever. It's more, well, it'd have to be more of a targeted attack, wouldn't it? Like they want to go after you.
Maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Social engineering, when it comes to things like emails, there are three distinct areas of where people work. Now, there is the genuine phishing attack, which is you get an email saying something that to 99.9% of people looks like an email that's trying to get something that they shouldn't be trying to get. And those people are relatively secure in the knowledge that they're not stupid enough to click on a link, open up an attachment, that type of stuff. So that's how phishing works. And that's where things like the Nigerian princess scam came from, the superannuation scam. All of those are coming from this type of attack. They can be generated literally from. I can plug in my Kali rendition and do that from my Kali.
Right.
So it can be done relatively easily. The next one is a thing called spear phishing. Now, spear phishing is a damn sight more targeted. You know how phishing is: you throw a hook in the water and you might catch something. Spear phishing is you actually know your target. You can see the target and you are going to harpoon it. And that, in that respect, they've done some research on you. And social engineering comes down to looking at who you are, what you do, who you have who you converse with, who you have main conversations with,
Right.
what your role in the company is. And they will find all this information out from what you do on Facebook, what you do on LinkedIn, maybe your email, if people have got copies of how your email are written and all that sort of stuff. So they then go in there and they will make a targeted email that is 99.9% better chance of actually having you click on the link, whether it's sending a fully documented email to someone who's in accounts with a PDF that's got the invoice on it. Now, if you do it properly, in some cases it's noticeable.
Yeah.
But if you find out who those clients are for the company, then there's a very good chance that you will open that email, and that's what they're after.
Yes.
And the last one of the phishing environments is a thing called whaling. Now, whaling has only just come into its own in the last couple of months, and whaling is when you get an email from a superior to a subordinate saying, "I need you to do X job." Now, if I can manipulate that email properly, then I can get you to do that type of thing, like CEO asking the secretary to download the database, their members' database, and send it to me as a CSV. Now, I've just bypassed every other protective strategy you've got in place, because if the person hasn't been educated enough and the subordinate doesn't really know what they're doing, they will quite happily get onto their database system, download and export it out of the system, and put it on an Excel spreadsheet, and then send it to someone. Now,
that's dodgy.
Again, but it happens. We actually caught one actually in the process of happening with a client in Sydney.
Right.
We were in the office, and the receptionist received an email that she thought came from the CEO along those lines. Please download the database and send it to me. And I was actually working on the computer, and she was actually doing it at the time. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Oh, the CEO asked me to do this."
Wow.
The first thing I did was got up, walked into the CEO's office, and asked him, "Did he ask for that?"
Yeah.
Now, this whole situation comes down to education, because if I educate my people that under no circumstances is anything from the database to be emailed out of the office, then I've already put some sort of checks and balances in place.
So, okay, so in this particular instance, so the email came into the secretary or whoever it was, said, "Can you send me the CSV file of the database?" So she was sending it not back to the CEO, but sending it outside to Joe Blow.
She thought she thought because the email said his name.
Okay, right.
Exactly his email.
So it was spoofed as well.
Oh yeah, and on top of that, the email, the actual domain name was one letter out of their domain.
Oh,
and
wow. So,
and that's how clever these people get.
So how do you get on top of that sort of thing? Because that's pretty. I'd probably fall for that.
Pretty in depth.
Yeah, like if I was working, say, for somebody, and I got an email from the boss and said, "Oh, can you send blah blah this blah blah?" Maybe if it was the database, I might have had a question mark, but something else, or something that I might not be familiar with, or whatever. Say some drawings. Say you're in say you're an architect place, and they said, "Oh, can you send these drawings of the new Gold Coast, I don't know, Olympic Stadium to Joe Blow?" You probably would. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, that's it. As I said, there's no defense against this apart from a number of things. One is trust no one. So even if you do get that email from the CEO, the first thing you do in the office is walk into the CEO's office and go, "Did you ask for this?" Fair enough, it makes you look like you don't know what you're doing, but it's a damn sight better than doing the whole thing, sending it out, and then realising what has happened.
Yeah, geez, because you'd be in a lot more trouble.
The next time that's going to come up is if they're having a conversation, and she might turn around and say, "Did you receive the email I sent you?"
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What email? What are you talking about? But this is also done at the financial level as well. And there was a recent thing about a week ago where an accountant was told to transfer $4.2 million to a client's account.
Yeah.
The trouble is, 2 weeks prior to that, they'd actually got information, or they received an email to actually change the accounts for the system. So that person who sent the email set up their account, got them to change the account to their account, and then after that sent the email through.
So when a bad person decides they want to go whaling, how far into the organisation? So this is pretty targeted, obviously. So
it's very targeted. But if you think about it, how much information do we put out there on social media?
But yeah.
If you look at let's have a look at a company that's on LinkedIn, for instance, and you've set up a company page. You've got all the people who are on that page. So whoever's working for the company, in most cases, you will say CEO or CIO or CFO or manager of this or vice president of that. So you've already got a base inkling of what these people are doing. The next thing you can do is do a Google search on them, and find out what else is available, what information is available. Some of the tools that I have available on some of the systems that I have will actually go off and harvest this stuff. I can put in a name and maybe a email address, and it will go out and harvest the internet to find out as much information. And it will give me a list of 60 or 70 articles or components where that name, that email address has been referenced within a form. And I can then get more information out of it as I go forward.
So what sort of, I've just been going through my mind just then, what sort of procedures would I put in place, to make sure that didn't happen? Were there any procedures you guys put in place for these people, or was it just education?
It's all education and training. This is one of the biggest problems with it, because when it comes to when we're doing the undergrads component of social engineering, one of the slides is there's no patch for human stupidity. Well, it really does come down to that, because what they're doing is they're turning a very important person into a very gullible person, because they've used psychology and psychological means to press the right buttons to make you realize that you are not being manipulated. They are very clever in that respect. So, yes, there are the 99.9% that are absolute crap, and they're not really, they have a really, really, really low level of actually catching someone. But when you start targeting, yes, it is a huge problem.
So I was just thinking, could you say, for example, if you, this is obviously if you're, in charge of a pretty big company or, with a lot of secrets or whatever, but I don't know, things just flashing through my mind. You could tell me if this would be viable or not. Would be, say, everyone in the organisation has, say, a login for their computer, and then every time an email requesting information or whatever is sent out would contain that login to say, okay, this is from this person, because you wouldn't think that the login would be, say, compromised, or another secret sort of code. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Is that
there's a possibility. The other thing is understanding your information and how important that information is. Like when we do a NIST audit on a client, all right, one of the questions we ask is, yes, you know what your information is and you know how important each level of information is. Now, one of the questions we ask is, if someone requests that information, how is it to be delivered? So, in other words, anything from the database cannot be emailed, cannot be printed off, and cannot leave the company via USB. Yes. So you've already put in place a precedence that says, okay, if anybody asks for information about that database, then we know that we can't do a CSV from it, even though there are people who can do it because they need to have that capability to do it. But if I needed to do a CSV, for instance, I needed to back up that database in such a way that it could be loaded onto any SQL system, then a CSV is the only way to do that. And if I'm doing that internally for a business continuity component, then yes, I need to do that. But around that process, I now put certain criteria, like I'm not allowed to email it. It's only allowed to be saved in such a position. All of that sort of stuff then becomes something that you can actually then go and do better with it. So it is a case of knowing what data within the organisation is absolutely critical to that organisation, and how that data can be actually viewed outside. Can it be allowed to go outside? Can it be allowed to be moved around inside? What are those components of it?
Yeah, so I think well, as these episodes go on, I think it's more and more obvious that if you've got a company that's got, or just sort of any sort of data really, that, you really need to make sure your IT guy is on song, and he's got a list of things that you need at least to be advised of to be implemented. Yep.
Yeah, totally agree, because the capabilities of the bad guys are extreme. They really are. They've got two things that we haven't got. One is they've got time. So they have time to find out the information they need. They have the time to develop attack strategies. We don't have that, which is one of the big problems. Also, they have an understanding of what they're after and how they're going to get it. When it comes to IT, we have this sort of blinkered attitude that I've bought a laptop and I'm only going to do this with it. Whereas a bad guy will say, I've bought a laptop, what the hell can I do with it? And that's the difference. It really is. Yeah. But because they've got time, they can do a lot of the things that we can't do as defensive processes. So defense really becomes something that we have to look at all the time.
And do you think that most of these, say, whaling or fishing or whatever, I suppose if they're really targeted, they're probably after certain information, but say, what are they mainly? They're just mainly after email addresses? Is this all what it's all about? Is spam?
No.
What's it all about?
There are three things that they're really after. One is money and the access to money. So if you have, if I can compromise your computer and download ransomware, then I'm going to get money out of it. And that's the thinking that what they're doing. Yeah. They can also get IP, intellectual property, trade secrets, and every company is different. Even if you're working in the same environment, I can have a financial advisor sitting next to a financial advisor, and the way they do business will be different. They might still be financial advisors, but they do information differently. They store information differently. They manipulate that data differently. So each one of those is unique. So you've got to have an understanding of what they're doing. And the third one is they're after our technology. If I can compromise your computer, then not only can I steal everything about you as well, so I can get your usernames and passwords for your websites and all that sort of stuff, get your SWIFT codes for transferring money, all of that sort of stuff really is important. But if I can compromise your computer, anybody who logs onto it is now compromised. I can then use that malware that I've compromised your computer to attack other computers, whether they're inside the network or whether they're outside the network. These are the things that they're always after.
Yeah, that's scary, isn't it? Like, because I was just thinking as you're talking about the financial people, they know everything about you. Like they know. We're not talking banks who've got all their security and all that. We're just talking about old mate down the road who does financial planning. Yeah. On his MacBook in the lounge room while he drinks beer and watches telly.
That's right. That's exactly right. People who do short trading on the stock exchange is also another target they're after. Because if they can see how you have access to money because it's in your portfolio, but if they know your username and password for that trading component, then I can then sell all your shares, change your bank accounts. All of this sort of stuff is relatively easy for them.
So what's the go then? So how do you go? So when you go to a financial planner or someone like that, and you have to, to get the service that you want, you've got to give them this information.
Yes. One of the things that we're finding, and actually this is something that the first time I heard it was about 6 months ago, and that was I was talking to a financial planner, and one of his clients came to him and said, I'm going to give you a lot of very, very important information to me. what is your security components around where that information is stored. Now, we were lucky enough that a month before that, we'd actually done a NIST audit on their systems and put a lot of the requirements in place. When we first did the audit, they were at 0.5. When we finished doing this, and just before this person came in, they were at 2.1. So they were actually in the process of making sure that their data and their security components were getting better all the time. And that's what you really got to show.
Right.
A lot of the biggest hacks that have happened, things like Target, Sony, have come from subsidiaries. Someone who has access to the system that they've been compromised, which has allowed them to target the larger organizations. Something that really is one thing they're really looking at nowadays as a targeted system.
So do you, for want of a better phrase, do you only do business with people you've penetrated?
Nice. We only do business when it comes to important information.
Yes.
The moment, stop giggling.
Sorry.
The moment they ask for a certain criteria on a website is when I back off. Now, if they ask for a date of birth, I will, depending on what the requirement is, I have a false date of birth that I will put in there.
Yep.
Because to me, it's something that I'm not going to give away unless I know there's a hell of a lot of security around it. The other thing is my driver's license. The moment they ask for a driver's license, I usually close down the information going into that portal.
Yeah.
And the other one is a passport number. Now, those three pieces of information can, on their own, can actually verify who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So that information is always guarded. And the moment a website asks for that, for instance, if I'm buying something off one of our suppliers and they turn around and say, we need your driver's license and we need your date of birth, and both the pieces of the information are not mandatory, then is when I don't do business with them, because I do not trust anybody outside what I put out there.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I do have a fake date of birth as well, so it's something that I can remember. It's like just a couple of years younger, obviously.
Yeah. Well, it could be older. You could put down 1890.
Well, you could, but yeah, no, you're right. And but yeah, this is the sort of stuff you don't think about. You know how many times you go, oh yeah, I'll do that thing on Facebook. You know, I don't know how many fish jump out of the ocean at night or something. He goes, oh, this app wants to access your public profile and your information and all this sort of stuff.
No.
Yeah. So,
that's also one of the biggest things that they've got going at the moment is social media. Social media, when it comes to social engineering, is really huge. They can get not only information out of it, but if they can target people through other people using social media, so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, then they will go out of their way to do it, because there is a lot of information not only about you, but about all the people that you know, which is why they would go out and target it.
Yeah, so that's a massive problem. This whaling, I've never, as you said, it's only a new sort of a term, but it seems to be out there and out and about, loud and proud.
Oh, yeah. No, it's huge.
That's
really
no good. So, look, the other thing, maybe quickly, we just wanted to try and talk about is fake news. So
fake news.
Yes. Can you tell us, is fake news, is this related to the fake news we're hearing so much about in the US and the US election, or is fake news something else?
Well, fake news is actually what we call clickbait. You know how you get on your feed through Facebook, it'll come through and say, you need to see this because this is what's happening.
Yes.
You click on it, you go to a website, and it's either not explaining something about what you actually clicked on, so the heading doesn't match the content, or it's totally irrelevant to you. What they're trying to do is get you to go to the website, because the moment you go to the website, they sell advertising on it, and people make money out of that click, which is all very well and good when it comes to the real reasons why we do it. But once again, the bad guys, where there's good things happening, the bad guys come along and screw it all up for us.
Yeah.
So they've now found ways of compromising not only the click system, but the way you click on that link and then go back to wherever they go. And again, they can either compromise that website. So you click on that, you go to the website and you're compromised, or they can again compromise the people who are picking up the money or the finances for the clicks as they go through.
Yeah, I think
so. All of these things are all tied together, and it's a very complex world, and I don't think people really realise how complex it gets.
Because even with, say, to actual news stories, I suppose, like I liked a few pages over the US election period, and, the headlines that were coming out, and you think, oh, yeah, that sounds interesting. So you click on them, and
that sounds like bullshit.
Yeah, and the headline was just total exaggeration of what the story was. Like, say something like, "You won't believe what Hillary Clinton did next." Say, okay, I'll buy it. So I'll click. So you click on it,
and you get there, and it's nothing about what Hillary Clinton did
next.
No,
or it might be
but the other thing is,
fell over or something.
They will actually write articles about supposition or something that they heard or something they want to make up and all this sort of stuff. And if they can get this into the main feed of both Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, sometimes in cases Instagram, then people will then follow that and it becomes a real news story.
Yeah.
And that's also something you've got to be very, very aware of. When it comes to anything that's on the internet, 99.9% of it is absolute crap. And this is the other thing that people have this attitude that I've read it on the internet, so it must be true. No, anybody can write a fake news article. And on top of that, if they know what they're doing and they know how to run the PR components, they can get it into main systems on the internet as well. So they can get it onto 9MSN. They can get it onto the Boston Globe and all this sort of stuff as well if they know what they're doing.
And it's just it's us, isn't it, that are feeding this machine. It's us that are keeping
feeding frenzy.
Yes, that we keep clicking on things, and we've got to stop.
Stop it!
Yes, we've got to stop. So there's no other real way of avoiding it. I suppose you could, but even ad blockers, I don't know. You just don't click on stuff. Like, it's just rubbish. Like, after as I was just saying before about this, the exaggerated headlines, and at the end, like, I went with it for a couple of weeks or whatever. I just got sick of them because every time I click on it, waste my time. The article was just BS about what the headline was, or was just so exaggerated. I thought, well, I don't care. And you want your news, you've got to go to your more trusted sources, or ones that you can see that, or you perceive are more trusted. But there's clickbait. But also, everywhere.
Fair enough. There is an impact that people like bloggers are having. Yes, there are a couple of bloggers out there who are plugged into, let's say, and this happens on every industry and every capability on the internet. There are a number of trusted people who are plugged into a system. Like, they might be plugged into the US electoral system, or they might be plugged into what Barack Obama is doing. These type of things are the insiders, and they're people who are well worth reading. But the people who are the fake news that is coming through, which has also been attributed to how Facebook's algorithm has changed.
Yes.
The other thing, did you hear about that?
Yeah, I heard that they're trying to get rid of this fake news by rating stories with, say, authenticity stars or flags before they're promoted up the list of news stories or something.
Yeah, but the trouble is most of the fake news came through because they took the humans out of the screening process.
Right. But then they got in trouble for that as well. They put the humans in the screening process, and they said they were biased.
Yeah, well, biased is a bit better than just out legitimate fake crap.
I think wasn't one of the biggest stories about fake news about this in the US, about they said some pizza shop that Bill Clinton used to go to was a pedophile ring or something, and so didn't you hear that one?
Hey,
hey,
I never heard that one, but that's a good one. Yes.
Yeah, but so that news story got out right, and sort of made it mainstream, and some guy goes in there with a gun wanting to shoot this pedophile bloke.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can obviously get a bit dangerous, and so it's no good. And fake news, like you read stories, and even from the mainstream media, and I suppose especially in the US, it probably happens out here as well. But how many times you read a story, and it's unsourced by anonymous people, just there's no information. It's just BS, half of it.
That's Joe Blow has said this, right? And who the hell's Joe Blow? We don't know.
Or persons close to the Prime Minister have said this.
Yeah.
Well, you got to start naming people. Let's go.
Yeah. How close?
Yeah,
it could be the Prime Minister's dog for all we know.
Well, that's right. It could be the Garbo. Who knows?
Yeah, he's close once a week, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I suppose. So fake news. It comes down to wanting you to click on stories that you think might be juicy, then they give ads up, and it goes from there. So stay away from it, please. Let's try and rid the world. Let's be the crusaders of fake news eradicators.
Rid the world of fake news. No more fake news.
That's right. Fake news busters. All right. All right. Well, I think you done with fake news? I think that's good.
I think so, yes.
All right. So, so that takes us to the end of another episode, and I think that was quite interesting about whaling. I've never heard of whaling before. So, thanks, Rog, for your insight into whaling, and maybe some systems that you can put in place in your business or organisation to prevent such bad things happening, such information leaving your company under the guise of legitimacy. Yeah, that's right. All right, good stuff. Okay, so email, Twitter, Roger. I've said that before, but we'll say it again at SME Security. If you want to get in touch with Roger, or at his webpage rogersmith.com.au/Roger, you can contact me on the Twitter at Glenn Goodman, or at the Facebook page Aussie Tech Heads, or athwebhosting.com.au. All right, thanks, Rog. Thanks for coming in. And we'll see you again soon, hopefully.
That you will. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you guys again soon as well. Okay, cheers. Bye-bye.